Championship moments are often frozen in time via photos, video, and achievement. However, they're just a moment. The road leading up to and the road after those moments are often filled with adversity, controversy, and sacrifice. Our guest today has traveled both roads with grace and class. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Win, a show where we interview champions and trailblazers and ask questions to uncover and discover their championship traits for succeeding in sports, work, and life. Win is part of Grit, a pivotalmomentsmedia.com channel focused on breaking the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. Joining us today is a two-time Super Bowl champion and the MVP of Super Bowl 26 with the Washington Redskins. Those accolades are accompanied with an illustrious career in the NFL and with his philanthropic work in his post-playing career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mark Rypien. Mark, it's great to have you today.
Lee, it's wonderful to be on here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to spending the next 45 minutes to an hour with you and JB. And also thanks for bringing awareness and to the stigma of mental health. And as we get into this a little further, it'll all come to fruition.
Right.
So,
it needed to happen, and we can't thank you enough for being here today. It's huge that an athlete of your stature is willing to talk about it and willing to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, great seeing you again, and you look great as always. And Mark,
JB, you're a liar.
No. Mark, you played 14 seasons in the NFL. You know, that's remarkable. But I did read on early on in your college career, you almost stopped playing football after a knee injury. However, you stuck through it, and the rest is history. Can you talk us through that, your early career and overcoming that adversity?
Yeah, well, I think it was more, interestingly, it was a shoulder injury. I broke my collarbone against Nevada, Las Vegas here in Spokane. We played like once a year in Spokane to kind of promote Washington State University football locally here. And so we played against the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Randall Cunningham was on the opposing team. And I got tackled, broke my collarbone, was out for the remainder or most of it was like second or third game of the season. So I was out for about 6 to 8 weeks. During that time, I, had some heart-to-hearts about football. The guy that was playing ahead of me was, was doing well. He's doing okay. But, just to hear the coach talking about someone else taking your job and how great, and I understand the overall psyche behind that. You want to get behind your quarterback playing and pump his tires as much as possible, as they probably did mine too. And when I played, so it took a toll on me mentally. And also at that time of year, I don't know, a lot of people struggle. I do. And I get some treatments, transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS treatments during the September months because of the SAD, seasonal affective disorder that happens when the sun goes down. Up here in the Northwest, we don't see the sun very much when late October, November comes around. So the combination of those things, not playing, watching some other guy playing, the coach tell him, how great he is and this, that, and the other. I had second thoughts. My brother was playing baseball at the University of Creighton in Omaha, Nebraska. And I said, you know what, I'm going to transfer. I'm going to go play baseball. So I, just had some heart-to-hearts with myself during that time. And as it all came about, I just decided that the best thing for me to do was you start something, you finish it.
Finish what you start. Love it.
Absolutely. And, even my dad, was kind of like, as big of a baseball fan that he was, and he played himself, and actually played a year at Seattle University before he went back to Canada, where he grew up and where I was born. Kind of said, hey, it's probably a better idea for you to go back to school and finish what you started and get yourself back in the right mental frame of mind and go from there. And lo and behold, I did. And it was great for a lot of reasons. Mostly just because, I had a lot of friends and family. And the reason I stayed close to Washington State University instead of travel to different schools and take recruiting trips is because it was close to home. And I wanted my parents and friends and family to see me play.
I love it.
Mark, I love it too. Before I dive into my next question, I want to pull the thread on that a little bit because, I find that sometimes, when young athletes, and you were a young athlete at the time, go through adversity to that level, it actually molds them for later on in their life and not just their athletic career. Now, I didn't have a career like yours, but my senior year of high school, I was an ice hockey player. I tore my left shoulder horrendously. I missed my whole senior year, and I was devastated by that. But as you just said, my father and my mother, like, you're going to rehab, or you're going to finish what you started, right? And I found so many other ways to be involved in the game. And it was that event, one of several events in my life, that kind of set me up for success in the future. And, built that adversity at a 17, 8-year-old mindset that when I was in my 20s, in my 30s, I could always lean back on that. So in regards to, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, many seasons in the NFL, did you draw back to that moment for inspiration throughout your career? And were there other moments like that, hey, get up and finish what you started kind of crept into your head?
I think, yeah, every off season that kind of hit, I mean, off seasons where, it's like, I want to play golf and I don't want to do the little things that are going to make me better, even though I know the little things made me better. And I just think there's an immaturity part to that whole thing.
Right.
You're young, you're being pulled in different directions. Oh, you're a great baseball player. I wasn't a great baseball player. I was a good baseball player, and the great baseball players go to Creighton and Cal State Fullertons and places like that, and the good ones just kind of like are looking for an excuse to do something different. And I think that's the maturity side to it. And I think you draw back on that and say, you know what, as much as a lot of these things that maybe you don't want to be doing, the overall pushing through and the willingness to make sure that you're, doing what you should be doing and helps. And then I think that definitely was a factor as far as even, getting to Washington and being with the Redskins back in the day when they were the Redskins, that being the number 3 guy and not knowing, if I'm going to be there the following year, and then just doing the things that I have control over. And that's the off season, working with Jerry Rome, who was a great influence for me, of the old Tulsa quarterback that was my quarterback coach, who worked the team was working on the field. On the other field, I was doing individual stuff with Jerry that was making me a better player. And lo and behold, that day that I first got my first start, which I remember vividly in Arizona State Stadium against the Arizona Cardinals, I was ready, and I was ready. And if not for that, then my chance would have gone and been over with, and I wouldn't be here talking to you guys today and have the opportunities that presented themselves during my career in Washington and other places.
Yeah, Mark, can you sorry.
No,
I just wanted to say, Mark, I love the fact that you talked about you're on the other field practicing, like doing the work in the dark places, like when people aren't watching. And I think so many times today, athletes, even young athletes, they want to post, I did this, I want to post, I did that. Like just go do the work where no one's watching. And then I love the fact you said, that was my time and I was ready. And I put the work in, and you built that confidence on yourself there. It was great. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I would have been the one to blame if it didn't happen, because I wouldn't have done the things. If I didn't do those things, then that opportunity would not have presented itself the way it did, and I would not have been ready. And lo and behold, there's a lot of guys that are in that particular situation where they've been successful in college. They've had great opportunity to do wonderful things, and then they get to the NFL or the American Hockey League or minor league baseball or Division D or whatever they call that league that in the NBA, the D League, the D League. I mean, here these guys they're like superstars in their colleges, and now they're relegated to playing in a lesser league or a league where they're trying to find a way to better themselves, and it can go the other direction where you can just lose hope and not do the little things that are going to get you there, or it can make you rise up as a person, as an athlete, that will give you success in years afterwards too.
Mark. Sorry, Leah.
You're good, JV.
I just got another little story. I'm excited. So, Mark, I spoke at the NBA Summer League this summer, and it was funny. And I was talking to a couple of the coaches there, and one of them said, "Yeah, this is the first time any of these players have ever been cut." And I thought about that, because they've been the best player at, AAA and all these elite leagues and in college, and all of a sudden they went to some, NBA camp and they got cut out of it. And so now they're trying to find their way back to dealing with that adversity.
Absolutely. Adversity is a great, how you channel that adversity and how you manage to use stress and those types of elements of, things that you're not really accustomed to is how how you're able to get through it.
Yeah, an athlete I look at right now with that is Trevor Lawrence, who had not, for those of you who don't know, the quarterback for the Jags, has not lost a game since high school coming into professional football. He has not lost a game, and he plays for the Jags, loses several games. Put it that way. I'm interested to see how he responds. And now all the reports are he's going to respond wonderfully. But you think about that. I remember hearing that, like, this kid's never lost a game before. That's incredible to me. So a couple of quick notes on what we're saying. When I was writing the intro, I put Washington Commanders in there. And it just didn't sound right. The way for your introduction, I'm totally fine with the name. I had to say the way it was when you played. The other thing too is, with youth athletes, two things I like to say to them all the time is that one is that you got to realize, first off, you're not invincible. That's the first key to really most of this stuff. You are not invincible. You're going to feel invincible. Even me telling you that, you're still going to feel somewhat invincible. And the other thing too is this, and this is a delicate one. You got to catch yourself. And this is really not just for young athletes. This is for anybody saying, I've got time. Time is your absolute most gracious and important commodity. And you never know when you're going to run out of it. So don't ever take the approach of, oh, I've got the time, I can do this. Put the work in. Now is the time. The present moment is the time.
I utilize that time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what the greats do, like yourself. Now, speaking of that, you said you were a good baseball player. I like that. But I love the fact you were a 3-sport athlete growing up. In fact, 100%. Your varsity number has been retired by your high school in football, basketball, and as a good baseball player. So one of the things that I feel hampers our young athletes today, and we want to ask you about this, is that, you were a multi-sport athlete. Today at 8 years old, you're told to choose a sport by a lot of parents, a lot of coaches. It's a massive mistake. What are your thoughts on that from the development of athletes? How important is it, with all the studies out there that say play multiple sports, for the parents, coaches, and athletes listening to this to become a well-rounded athlete and not just a one-sport athlete?
Well, I think there's a diversity, obviously, in just the types of players that you're playing with and where you're going to go. Even if you do decide to choose just baseball, you're playing the same group of guys almost every year for like 5 or 6 years. Right. And then you're going on to college. And then to college, you're getting a whole new group of different people. And you're not able, maybe some are not able to interact with that group as well as maybe having a multifaceted opportunity to play different sports. And, I just think there's so much to it. And even in the business world today, a lot of businesses are hiring, not necessarily pro athletes or college athletes, but guys that maybe played high school athletes or were part of the student body or part of a band, part of something that was different than just, a team. Just going through the motions and getting to your next your paycheck or whatever it may be. So I think there's just part of that team aspect that I wouldn't say doesn't go unnoticed. It's just isn't as prevalent as it was when I played. And that was just the things we did. I hated football. It was like from my freshman year, even when I first started, I didn't start tackle football till the 8th grade. So that was one factor that was good. And then when I did start playing as a 9th grader, I hated it because I was a quarterback and / linebacker, and I'm 150 pounds, 6'2", and, soaking wet. And I was getting hit, and I had to tackle. I had to get in that, whatever they call that, 3-on-3 thing where they line up and, the Army, Navy, or West Point drill or whatever it is. And you had to get in there. Yeah, you had to carry the ball. Yeah. Sometimes you had to carry the ball and sometimes you had to tackle, and it was awful, and your manlyhood was supposedly you being an athlete and someone that, was thrown in front of your peers. You had to step up. And I think that has gone to the wayside now because of the concussion protocol that they have. But that was a kind of a sign that, hey, throw you in this little mosh pit here and let's have at each other and see who the tough guys are, who the guys that we're going to count on. And I didn't like that. And so I ended up, kind of playing football only because my buddies did. And that's the reason I got involved. Then when I found out I was, couldn't hit or throw a curveball, my baseball days were numbered. And then, in basketball, I loved it. Probably my favorite sport of all. George Raveling said the coach at Washington State at the time lauded me as one of the better preps that he's seen in the state of Washington. And it wasn't like I was a great shooter, I mean, or even a good defender. I did hold John Stockton to 32 points a game in high school, though. So that was
nice.
That was getting right in his jock strap and saying, "Let's go, buddy."
We'll have to get him on the show to confirm that. Now,
love basketball. I do. I love basketball. It was the sport that you're always doing something, whether it be practice or I shouldn't say I didn't enjoy the wall sits and all those types of things, but I did enjoy the movement and the X's and O's and the strategery. That's not a word, but I use it. Strategery behind it. And I was a quarterback on our basketball team. We ended up winning the state championship my senior year against Mercer Island. We both go into the game, and we're 20. It was the highest classification in the state of Washington, and we're 26-2, and they're 27-2. We're going, look, they got 2 losses too. Well, we didn't know that they lost to Dunbar and Mater Dei in a tournament in Vegas. And our 2 losses were to the same team, Richland, another school here in the state of Washington that was pretty good in basketball. And so we played them and beat them on a last second shot that actually their coach took to the Supreme Court. It's a crazy thing. You can Google it.
You can Google it. It's a huge controversy.
Yeah, you can Google the 1981 Mercer Island Shadle Park High School basketball game, and it's still talked about to this day. But I mean, that was just a fun time, and that's what we did. And then we went right into baseball after that. And both my brothers were great baseball players. My brother Dave played in the Olympics in Seoul, Korea for the Canadian national team in 1988 and played for Gonzaga University here in town. My brother Tim played at Creighton University, got homesick because he wanted to come see me play football, came back here, played in junior college, and then played 5 years in the Toronto Blue Jay organization. And he also played for the Canadian national team. And he was on the first Canadian national team, hit a grand salami against Cuba. First Canadian national team to beat Cuba in international play in Antwerp, Belgium back in 80 something. I don't know, but that's pretty cool. So they were baseball players, both catchers, both pretty good little athletes. And Dad just got us involved. My sister Shannon was a volleyball, basketball, softball player. So that was just what we did in our household.
You're family of athletes. You're family athletes. And I got to say this too, just for everybody listening, there's so much you can learn from playing multiple sports. I was a one sport athlete from 12 to 25. And looking back on it now, in ice hockey, Mark, one of the big.
Don't worry, were you a defenseman? Were you a winger?
I was center. Yeah, I was a center.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you could put the what do they say that where Granny puts the cookies in the top
cookies,
shelf?
Yeah, I had that. I was a good face-off person too. But here's the thing. I remember as I got older and started coaching, I started looking at the game differently. And on hockey, we have to transition back and forth. And I was looking for ways to coach that. And I was trying to find what sport transitions more than hockey, basketball. So I brought my team out to the basketball court. You know what? They really sucked at basketball, but they got the message about the transition.
They got an understanding of transition, yeah.
And then I started coaching high school football in Philadelphia, helping. And the teams within teams within teams, I learned so much from that. So even later in life as a coach, I was learning from multi-sport coaching. So I always tell players and athletes and coaches, great athletes need to be athletes, not hockey players, football players. They need to be great athletes to become well-rounded to play any sport. And look, I've said this too on the show. Most professional athletes, yourself included, probably could be pro at another sport if they had the time and the inclination to do so, because they're that good at being athletic. So just again, to the parents, coaches, players out there, think about that. Think about that. If you're playing hockey, I'll just use an example, year round, and you're spending $10,000 a year and you're not trying anything else, that might not be too smart.
Parents, are you listening? Parents, are you listening? Listen, Mark Rypien is telling you. Are you listening, parents?
You guys understand, and I think a lot of parents do understand. There's some cross training, obviously, and a lot of the good hockey players are soccer players too. They use their feet well, they use their hands well. They're good golfers, there's other aspects of that, and some of the best golfers I know are hockey players because that hand-eye coordination's unbelievable. But you guys like Sidney Crosby and guys of that nature are so good with their feet, and they're just, everyone thinks, they're great stick handlers, great skaters, and yada yada yada. No, they're good at their feet. They're good at doing the other things that enable them to get the puck onto their stick.
And they put the work in. Really going back to our earlier question, they put the time in.
Yep.
Mark, I wanted to talk to you about, you were known as a, leader in the locker room. You found ways to inspire your teammates. Obviously, you talked about your upbringing a bit here with your father and your brothers. So do you think this was something that you just learned over time? Was it influenced by your family? But where did you find this leadership trait to continue to help others?
I think it was innate. I don't know if it was really something that, my dad, he pushed us in sports, as far as trying to be the best and just getting us involved. I wouldn't say it was like, hey, you've got to, come over here, I'll teach you some things about leadership, because I don't think I was a natural leader by rah and hey, we got to do this, we got to do that, or it was more by example. When the chips are down and you need a steal, you need a bucket, you need a first down, you need a hit, you just found ways to in crucial times to show others that not necessarily they can piggyback that, but they can see that, hey, the good ones, the ones that have got an ability to make others great or help others understand what it is to become great, are in crucial situations doing things that are pretty remarkable. And that's all across the board, and it's not because of Michael Jordan hits every shot. I mean, we've all seen his statistics. I've missed so many, over thousands of baskets, and I failed so many times, but he won 6 NBA titles. And so, the Bill Russells, and that's not like they didn't shoot the ball. They kept shooting it because they were going to be the one that when it came down to the end, they wanted the basketball. And that in itself, and they wanted to be out there for the face-off in the Stanley Cup with Game 7 on the line. Those are the people, and they're making the play. And I think yesterday was the 2010 where I watched my Canadian USA game up in Vancouver, where Sidney Crosby in overtime scored the game-winning goal 3-2. Why is Sidney Crosby on the ice? Because he's a leader. He wants the puck. He wants to be the guy to make it happen. And it's not because he's on the bench patting guys on the back and having ice cream socials at his house after games. It's because what he does and what leaders do. And my leader I looked at for the Washington Redskins team when I played with them was the guys like Art Monk. It's not what they did during practice, because they're always there in practice. They're always accountable. It's what they did in the off seasons, what they did to show the younger players and why a guy drafted in the 5th or 6th round ends up having a 14, 15 year career versus a guy that was drafted in the 1st round. 2 years later, he's out of the league. There's
Right.
certain aspects that of these things that these guys become natural leaders by what they do on and off the field. And I think that's kind of what I try to emulate is to be the best pro that I can, when I'm in the sport that I am, whether it be high school, grade school, before that, college, is to do the little things that actually show the guys. And that's where guys rally around and say, well, gosh, Rip's doing that, Rip's doing this. And, I want to do that too, because I want to be successful and I want to follow, someone that, understands that. So.
Mark, I always would teach in the military, these young officers getting ready to graduate, what kind of leader should I be? And you were it. It was lead by example and be genuine. And if you do those two things, you lead by example and you're genuine in your leadership, people will naturally see that and gravitate towards that. Excellent.
I agree 100%. And I also, a lot of the best leaders I know out there are our military, and the example that they have set for all of us in whatever it can, the ability to step up at any point in time. I'm actually leaving tomorrow, JB. You love this. I'm heading to Houston. Andrew and Adam Marr are two special ops guys that started the Warrior Angel Foundation, and their mission is to the brain health and the neurological health of our veterans. And so I'm going down to do a 4x4x48 challenge, which is 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Wow. I love it.
And the only thing that you get to eat is bone broth. So I'm going on my cleanse down there along with, wow. They want you to run, but there's no way I can run for 4 miles. I can barely walk 4 miles, but I'm going to walk 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours and raising some money. So anyone want to go look at that, it's a 4x4x48 challenge. Check out the Warrior Angel Foundation and what the great works that Andrew and Adam are doing, MAR are doing in Texas. And there'll be a lot of special ops, DOD people. We're having Chief Phil is going to do a native spiritual blessing, before the event, and then a ceremony afterwards. And Crazy Horse Pipe is actually going to be there. We're not going to be able to smoke out of it, but we'll be able to see one of the great artifacts of this world we live in, and that's Crazy Horse Pipe. So that's pretty exciting times.
I love it.
And to all our vets, to all our vets serving now, our men and women that have served, that are serving, and those that obviously have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you guys JB, for what you've done.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, I'll tell you right now, our channel is very veteran focused, very service focused. And for the purposes of this channel, we always say we've had military vets heroes on this show before, because our belief is, from a sports point of view, the military is the greatest team on the planet. You want to be the best team, you got to learn from the best. JB's always saying iron sharpens iron. I think from an athletic standpoint, any team that's not looking to the military for how to be a team is crazy. Now, that is going to segue me, quite smoothly, I might add, into our next question. Yeah. But look, here's the deal. Anybody listen to this, fans too, winning is really hard. It's really, really hard. And I don't think a lot of people realize just how hard it is, right? When you look at professional sports, especially, I think people forget, Mark, sometimes only one team's going to win. That's it. The odds are never in your favor. It doesn't matter who you are, who the quarterback is. Doesn't matter what your team is. It's incredibly hard. Okay.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about 1991. All right. Which was a storied season for you. Just humor me here for a minute. Again, your team had a 14-2 record. You threw 3,564 passing yards, 28 touchdowns. You defeated the Buffalo Bills during their four falls, 37-24, and then got named Super Bowl MVP. Now, here's my question to you, because I know you've been asked about you before with that, right? That team had something special going on. All right. I want to know, and I want you to tell our audience, what was it that separated that group, both the players, Coach Gibbs? What put you on the championship path? What separated that team to meeting that championship milestone? What is the secret sauce? What did you do differently? And again, you played many seasons. You won twice. What was it that year that was so special?
Well, there's a number of things that actually have a tendency to give you the best chance possible. One is to keep injury free predominantly.
Right.
The season before, I was injured and didn't play in Philadelphia. The year before, 1990-91 season, we got beat horribly in Philadelphia. Matter of fact, they call it the body bag game, because Brian Mitchell and Stan Humphrey started, Jeff Rutledge came in, both quarterbacks got sent to the locker room. I was injured, actually not in the game, but prior to that game, so I didn't play. And Brian Mitchell finished the game off, and then lo and behold, I came back. I think 2 games later, we played Philadelphia and beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia, which I think one was a couple things. One, to go up there and have what happened to us in Philadelphia during the regular season, and have our own players. And we probably had 8 guys taken off the field, 6 of them in stretchers. It was a pretty brutal beating that we took, and that was kind of thing. Body bag game aside, how will Washington play in Philadelphia in the playoff game, and we end up beating Philly in Philadelphia in a pretty again physical game, because that's Buddy Ryan was going to try to
and a hostile environment at the
in a hostile environment, and Santa Claus is getting his butt whipped on the sidelines, and it was tough, brotherly.
Good old Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure brotherly love is brotherly love was not there.
Born and raised, buddy.
Brotherly love left the building early that day.
Yeah,
but, it was. They're great fans, and don't get me wrong, but they tend to get a little rowdy towards the end, so playing in Philadelphia, beating them in Philadelphia was a stepping stone, not only for my maturation personally, but as a team, to look to say, hey, we have a young quarterback here that's starting to show that he can win in a on the road in a very hostile environment. And that set the stage for the off season, and then going into the regular season. I mean, the funny thing is we were 0-3 during the preseason, And we're so vanilla. It's not even funny how just we're handoff right guard, handoff left guard, handoff right tackle, left tackle, run maybe counter tray once during the week, and then throw a couple of hitch routes and maybe some outs, and that's it. And then so we're not showing much. And then come into the regular season against Detroit. We started from day one and then all the way through. It was amazing. And to have that happen, you have to have a lot of things. You have to have guys that, again, stay healthy. You have to have guys that are on the same page. We were very, very close. There was no free agency. So what we did on and off the field as a team, we did during the off season. We went to other players' foundational events. We participated in Christmas things within the community. We did things within the community. We did things within players and families together. So it was a very close-knit group of guys and a smart group. Defensively, Richie Pettibone and challenged our defense with numerous different fronts, and Todd Bowles and Brad Edwards was our safeties, and of course Martin Mayhew and Darryl Green as our corners, and all the things that they are challenged with, and the things that Richie Pettibone and Larry Peccatello and Torgy Torgerson, all those guys challenged those players to do on defense was the same on offense. And Joe Gibbs is more involved in the offense. And it was almost to a joke. Joe said, all the things that they threw at us offensively, because each week we'd come on a Wednesday before we start practice that Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday practice. We'd go through a walkthrough, and Joe would laugh, say, there's no way they're going to be able to do this. But we also had a 40-second clock then too. So we had a chance to shift and motion and do all the things and do it within the confines of 40 seconds, or we're going to get a delay of game. So it kept teams pretty vanilla with what they had to do defensively. And then with having to do things defensively pretty vanilla, we were able to run the ball, put them in situations that when they started sneaking the safeties up to stop the run, we had playmakers like the posse, Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders, and Art Monk to take it over the top. And then Ernest Binder was a great running back. He was our first, second, sometimes even third down back. We had Brian Mitchell, we had Ricky Irvins, and we had Gerald Riggs. So we had guys, committees, that come in. Gerald Riggs would come in on our short yardage. If you needed 3 yards, he got you 3 yards. Right. If you needed 4 yards, he got you 3 yards. It's an old saying. But he was we didn't put him in when there was 4 yards, but 2 and 3 yards, Gerald Riggs came in there. So we had a committee of different athletes that had special skill sets that allowed us to do what we did. We stayed healthy. And then we got on that Tony Kornheiser bandwagon that he started about week 6 when we were week 5, when we were 5-0, and got it all the way to 11-0. Then we had a little reminder that we're maybe not that good. We had Dallas beat us by 3 points in Washington, D.C. At RFK Stadium. They beat us by 3. And we said, maybe we're not this good. We need to go back to the drawing board, ran the tables to Philadelphia. We're up at halftime by 7 in Philadelphia, and Joe shut it down at halftime, and they ended up beating us by, I think, a field goal there. And so we both lost both of our games by a field goal or less, and then got into the playoffs against Jerry Glanville and the boxer Holyfield came out there, and MC Hammer was there on Jerry Glanville's sidelines, and they went to the War Monument, before the game as a team, and so they came in there and we handled them pretty well. And that's where they had the seat cushion game. I remember it like yesterday. And then the week later, we had the NFC Championship game against Detroit and annihilated them in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, went to the Super Bowl, where rightfully so, the Bills, having a veteran quarterback and a Hall of Famer in Jim Kelly, and coming off a 3-point loss of the year, or 2-point loss the year before, where Norwood missed a field goal that would have won him the Super Bowl. They were the favorite going in, and their defensive line coach made a comment of our offensive line were old, fat, and slow. And so that gave a little nugget, a little press box or bulletin board material for our guys, and gave them a little edge when it came to running the football and doing the things we did. And then it was just a matter of our playmakers making plays. And, at the end of the game, you have to name someone the MVP. And because you're a quarterback, you're going to be in that limelight. And if you play well when it matters the most, there's probably going to be a good chance. And Brad Edwards had a couple interceptions. Our defense played really well. Art Monk had a good, numerous guys could have been named the MVP, and basically all the guys, are part of that MVP trophy that I have. And just an amazing year, amazing group of guys, and very, very blessed and fortunate to have played for, Mr. Cook and and Joe Gibbs and his coaching staff, and Wayne Sevier, and our special teams were just as much of our team play as anything. And so it was a pretty amazing season all in all.
I've been taking notes on what you've been saying, because this is something I study, right? The championship moments, right? And there's a few things I want to go over. I always say 3 things have to be present for championship behavior to take place, right? You have to have the talent. You have to have comparable talent. You can't go out there with guys that can't compete. Then you have to have the tactics, because great talent can't overcome bad tactics, right? You had both of those. You also touched on something that's deeply important to me, which is that team bond. All right. And this is the thing that I find is the most overlooked aspect of any championship team. People think, we can come together when it matters and just play our best games and win. And look, there are scenarios where that can happen. But the truth is, building a team bond starts well before the championship game, well before. And you tapped on that. I love that you brought up the previous season. I love that, because I've heard that story from multiple teams, believe it or not, where, look, we learned through the adversity of a previous season how to conduct ourselves the following season. There was a culture there. There's a humility there.
Yeah.
So important. Great coaches know how to utilize that. Great players know how to utilize that. I'm sorry for telling a quick Philadelphia Eagles story, but in 2017, when we won the Super Bowl, and obviously in 18 it was played, the Eagles ran more 4th down conversions than any other team in the league that year. What people don't talk about is the year prior, they attempted more 4th down conversions, but did not convert them. They were preparing. Right. And great teams do that through time. Again, just to go through the notes again, thank you for humoring with an Eagles story, but
Sure.
It's not just the Eagles. I've heard this over and over again with the great Patriots teams and everything, so forth and so on. But humility, intelligence is another one. Players were committed to being intelligent, being healthy. Obviously. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it's luck on that one, but that is obviously a key. That's the talent side of things, right?
Yep.
People knew their roles. I love that you brought that up. Yeah, if we need 3 yards, we go to that guy. If we need 4, we don't go to that guy. I love that. You know what I mean? Like that's the old you pass to set up the run, you run to set up the pass. I mean, understanding your roles and where you fit in. It's funny to me because, again, if you're not a fan of football, sometimes people have 3 yards. What's 3 yards? It's everything. It's everything in that sport. You know what I mean? I get it. Football fans are rolling their eyes at me right now, but I know like hockey players aren't going to understand that, right? Because we move so fast, right?
Well, look at the Rams and Aaron McNair. What another half a yard would have done for them.
Right.
Would have put them over the. And I you've got a jersey back there that I have to comment on because Herb Brooks did it in Lake Placid. He played the Soviets. Mike Eruzione is a good buddy of mine, and my grandson has watched the Miracle probably 50 times, and he could actually. He's 4 years old, and he does exactly what. All that, and he's tapping. The as he's going into the game, all the letters from fans, and everything like that. But Herb Brooks played the Russians, a month before that. They got annihilated.
Killed.
Absolutely killed.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I just wrote down a couple things too, Lee. I'm pumped.
Yeah. By the way, when we talk over each other this much, it's because we're so excited.
So Mark, a couple things that I wrote about that 91 team of yours is the first thing I wrote was family. I love the fact that you said we went to each other's charity events. We helped each other. Like we just went. Like no one had to tell you to go. I worked in the NHL a bit, and it was like, players have to do this many things, and it was an issue of getting people to do things, and you just went. The other thing is Mark, early on in our podcast career here, we had on a sports psychologist and Dr. Derek Anderson. He talked about goodness versus greatness, and he said, can you have greatness without goodness? And the answer is yes. He said, but should you? So look at that team. You had goodness and greatness. And so for me, that's just, that's super powerful for teams and organizations and companies to understand you need that.
And JB, the last note I had too, Mark, JB, was purpose. You had purpose, right? When I talk to teams, Mark, I always ask this question. I always get funny answers, but so what are we doing here? What's the goal here? Well, we want to win. Like, yeah, everybody wants that. That's not your purpose. Why do you want to win? Why should you win? You talked about it with that telegram on the wall, or that newspaper story, right? We had a purpose. You were driven. There was a reason why you had to win that game, not just because you wanted to, right? Coaches listening, you need these ingredients to create a champion. And if you want to create a champion atmosphere for continued winning, it's essential that you have these things. But drawing on past experience, I just love that you shared all those things, man, because you completely affirm everything we talk about with that, right?
Well,
This wasn't won in one game. This was won over seasons.
You look at adversity and what adversity does, what stress does. Stress can either push you in a way, and adversity can push you in a way that's going to benefit, or it could actually do the opposite and send you in a way that you'll never recover from. And I think it's how you use and how you channel stress and adversity that gives you an opportunity to succeed.
No, I love it. It's exactly it. Mark, you've done amazing things on the field, but your charity work, your philanthropy work is well documented. And, can you discuss, if you'd like to discuss the significance of your Rypien Foundation and you focus on helping families whose children are suffering from cancer and everything you're doing, maybe you can just expand on that for our audience today.
Yeah, I think, right now we have merged the Rypien Foundation with the Community Cancer Fund here. Coaches versus Cancer was what Mark Few started off here in Spokane with the Jimmy V Foundation and all that. And so we have an adult leg to that, the Coaches versus Cancer, which is now the Community Cancer Fund, which now the Rypien Foundation is under one umbrella. It is a Community Cancer Fund, which supports both. But we started with the Rypien Foundation for 15 years. We dedicated ourselves to being the premier provider of hope for families with children battling cancer. And, it hits home to me because, in 1998, I lost my son to a brain tumor. And, anyone that's out there knows that the cycle of life isn't to put your children before you, lay your children to rest before you. But I also understand that, Andrew's in a better place. And we also have an opportunity here through that to honor him and help others. So with the Rypien Foundation, that was our message. And what we wanted to do was to give the quality of care for the children up there at Sacred Heart Children's Hospital. And the best way we can do that is through programs, whether it be to fund a child life specialist, a patient advocate, fund those positions in the hospital, or to have a music therapist or art therapist come in every day to get these kids away from just taking their chemo medications and get them mobilized and out of their rooms, an opportunity to go and learn and teach and have art therapy and music therapy and then just basic other programs. We had some kid cars for children. The nurses loved them and hated them at the same time because these kids could put their drips of chemo or drips of saline that they want on their kid cars and they can be active and be around. And that's what kids do. So that was our premise. That's what we did. And then, as we go, Spokane is a smaller community, and to leverage our dollars more and help both the adult side and the children's side, we merged, and I'm a consultant with the Community Cancer Fund, and they do amazing work here in Spokane, and I'll continue to do that. And also brain health. We're probably going to touch a little bit on it now, but with my cousin Rick Rypien, who played for the Vancouver Canucks, and I know Lee, about hockey and the Ricky Ryp Foundation and mental health and for hockey players, but all sports. And I'm also part of a new drug called Prevacus, which is a drug you take nasally after a concussive event. And what it does, it gets right to the concussive incident and heals some of the swelling in the brain. It goes through the nasal membrane and gets right to the area and alleviate. It doesn't eliminate, but alleviates some of the swelling in the brain. So Brett Favre, myself, and Dr. Jake Van Landingham, along with Odyssey Group International, we're right now in clinical trials in Australia and doing some wonderful work. And I think that is going to help because this drug can be applied, even to someone that's unconscious. They can give it nasally through a nasal injection that can help through that. So a lot of different ideas, a lot of different things that I'll still continue to support. I mentioned the 4x4x48, our veterans, and you just can't do enough for our veterans. You know, I mean, they're coming back and they're being given not much, and anything and everything we can do to help get them mainstream back. I know that is important to me and to all our people here, and just as a society in general. What we're facing with COVID and the mental health issues that we're going to have are just going to get worse because people have been isolated, and there's going to be a lot of mental health stress and things that we're going to have to deal with. And so any way that we can help, I think that's the best. And my foundation, though, was what we did and how we try to help our young kids here in Spokane, and what we'll continue to do to help our young kids here in Spokane through their treatment, I think is important.
Mark, I just want to say, you know, God bless you and your family for everything, you know, you're doing. Obviously, you know, having everything happening to you and your family, and you found a way to help others. And I think that's so important. And now you're working with this concussion, traumatic brain injury. You know, a lot of soldiers are going through that. That's why this TBI and mental health. And Mark, I suffered through it for a decade before I got help, because I was, you know, retired sergeant major. I'm tough. I could do it all. And then finally I had to get some help. And I'm so glad that you're speaking that, and you're telling people, like, look, there's other ways, you know, take my hand. I will help you. And if it keeps somebody alive, then this is the right thing.
Absolutely.
And everything.
I'd also like to plug our documentary we did about 4 years ago called Quiet Explosions. And it has received numerous awards, Emmy Awards, and Jerry Scher is an Emmy Award winning director. And she directed this, and basically has about 8 vignettes of different people that have gone through traumatic brain injuries. Anthony Davis played at USC, they called him the Notre Dame killer back in the day. Andrew Marr, who's actually the Green Beret, who was head of the bomb squad in Afghanistan, and his story is absolutely amazing. You know, to have gotten off all these opioids and all the different modalities of help that he's been able to get. Dr. Mark Gordon is one of the best hormonal therapy doctors in the world that gives you healthy ways to treat your some of your things and get off these painkillers and opioids that are wrecking people's lives and taking them down a different path, along with Sebastian Sebi, who's a firefighter in 9/11, who had a lot of traumatic dealings with his 9/11 comrades that were lost in September of 2001, along with the surfer, along with another special ops, and a gal from the Naval Academy who went through some really traumatic. I don't want to go into detail on her story, but it's incredible. And a gymnast that had a fall. And these are all, you know, people that have gone through traumatic brain injuries and have found a purpose and an opportunity to share their stories to help others out, and all the different modalities. The modalities that I went through are transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, along with Dr. Gordon, Dr. Daniel Amen, through the Amen clinics and scans that he does that, you know, shows different areas of your brain that need some help. And so all these are ways. But I want to plug that Quiet Explosions is a documentary, and Andrew Marr is the lead actor, and not the lead in this. He's not an actor. He's a real human who's gone through some very, very difficult circumstances and come out on the other end. And another reason why I'm going down to Houston tomorrow to help his Warrior Angel Foundation.
Love it.
Yeah, you know, Mark, you're actually lending yourself to the last question. And, you know, our parent company, Pivotal Moments Media, realized we're at a pivotal moment with mental health, mental fitness, and the stigma that's surrounding it. And as you just alluded to, this is a topic that's come to light in the NFL heavily over the last decade, maybe a little more. The question I have for you is this, and you started to lean into it a little bit already. Tell us what mental fitness means to you. How do you practice it? You know, and what advice do you give to coaches, athletes, people listening to the show about what you both have done here today about being vulnerable with yourself and understanding that you have to learn how to take this step forward up here, because physically it's not going to be enough, right? But what does mental fitness mean to you? How do you practice it? And what advice do you have for the audience?
Well, I think it's a lifelong struggle is what it is. And, I know that I still have depressive moments, especially during the winter months, where the sun goes down and I'm not out in the golf course and I'm not doing the things that are keeping me mentally and physically in the best possible way that I can be me. And I think that's a lot of the other thing too, is that my physical body and not doing the things that I need to do to physically keep myself in shape also has an effect on that. And I know that I'm not in the best shape that I need to be. So there's areas where I can still improve and am working on to continually improve that area, because I think that has a direct correlation. Some of the visceral fat that you're carrying has an effect on your brain and everything else. And then do the things that are necessary that you might need. I know that I don't take any medication. I'm not any Xanax or anything like that, but I do some TMS treatment during the months of September. I get like a series of those magnetic stimulations to get me through those months of November, December, January, and February. And then I try to play as much golf as possible and be around people like my grandkids, they give you an opportunity to smile and be yourself and do so in a way that, makes you realize that, wow, this is pretty cool, and there are different ways that you can do this without, having to go through some of the other modalities that some people have to go through to get to the next day. And I know that with this COVID, people are struggling daily,
Yeah.
not only, financially and emotionally and physically. People are in a bad place, and our hospitals and our facilities of mental health care physicians and people are going to be overloaded. And sadly enough, what happens is the first thing that gets cut is our mental health. And that's the thing that we need to put money into to help get our civilians and our people that we care the most about back on track.
I love that you said it was a lifelong struggle right at the start, because so many people think, oh, it's something you get. And like physical fitness, you can get in peak physical condition, but if you stop working out, it ends quick. It ends quick.
Well, the older you get, the worse it is. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm starting to find that out, to be perfectly honest with you. But like, it is a lifelong endeavor to stay mentally fit, and you have to be vulnerable yourself. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you, again, opening up of like, no, I take this treatment. I do this because I need to do it. 2-time Super Bowl champion saying that, right? And like you said, COVID, it's the everyday man and woman that's just trying to get by, that is frustrated and having a hard time dealing with this. And I'm sure they're saying, hey, I don't have the time to work on this right now. And we must break that stigma. It must be done. We as a culture, as a society, have to take care of each other. We belong in teams, right? But we got to work on our mental fitness as much as our physical fitness.
Yeah, think of those in their golden years and isolation. That they weren't able to see their grandkids. They didn't have this. They had states or they had mandates that kept them at home, or their health was a problem where they had to stay away because a young child or your daughter or son, could bring you something that might put you over the edge. So the isolation itself, and there's some grandparents that I know that finally said, screw it, I'll take that chance.
Right.
100%.
I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to go see my grandkid.
Yeah.
Frick that,
Right.
Because the isolationism kills you. I mean,
totally. They said, screw that.
Yeah.
I'm going to run the risk of going to jail even. I got to get out of the house. I have to have my kids over. I have to see my grandkids. I need to do that because the alternative is worse, is that they're just going to keep spiraling down a rabbit hole that is, going to take them to where they don't want to go anyway. So why not go out, even if they someone said, if I get COVID and die, I'm going to be happy because I'm going to see my grandkids. And I don't say that in a bad way, but that's their mentality, is that I'm going to take the risk that it might happen. And I'm okay with that. And, then that's, kind of taking the leash off and giving people at least a chance to say what they want or do what they want, and not have to be mandated to do something. And again, I'm fully vaxxed and boosters and all that. And I'm not against that. I'll wear a mask if I have to, if it's to help save someone. But I think people should also, have an opportunity to say, I want to see my grandkids. I want to see my kids, and go from there. So.
Well, I'll say this, both you and JB embody this. The human spirit is an amazing thing. We're seeing that play out in the world right now in various ways, obviously.
Amen.
Yeah. We don't know what we're capable of. What's amazing to me, and we'll kind of close on this, and JB and Mark, I'll give you guys the last word, but there's a reason Olympic records get broken every 4 years. You think, oh, he can't do it any faster than that, but every 4 years, someone beats the record. We don't know what we're capable of as people, as a species, as groups. And again, look, COVID, which is hopefully in its twilight right now, has been a hell, but I remember seeing my neighbors take care of each other. Like you just said, my mother who has cancer, is compromised. She risks it to come to see the kids for the reason you just said. Same thing with my father. We don't know what we're capable of, but I know that if we work together, if we stay physically fit, mentally fit, if we can kind of get past ourselves in a weird way, there's a brighter future there. And we've forgotten how to do that in a lot of ways. I'm not trying to end this on a negative. Mark, in fact, you've inspired me the opposite way.
Well, if not inspire you elsewise, is watch a movie called Winter on Fire. It's about the Ukrainian people in the uprising in 2013 and 14, where they had a revolution of the people there. So we bitch and we moan about political this and political that and this and that and the other. Take a look watch that. You find out people rise to the occasion, and they will die for a cause. They will die for a cause, and that's the amazing part about the human spirit, is that there are people out there that are just willing to do whatever they can so they can have some of these freedoms that, that we have an opportunity to do the things that we do. But again, we're going to be facing it. Like you said, and JB said, a crisis here of people coming out of this COVID. And God only prays that this will be the last of it, and we'll be able to kind of move on with our lives and have some normalcy to what we're doing. But yeah, we got to take care of each other. And I think that's where you mentioned the human spirit is bigger and stronger than we even know. And there's a lot of people in this world. 99% of the people in this in American soil that are good to the core and want the best for everyone. And I firmly believe that.
I firmly believe that's a wonderful way to end the episode.
Totally. Great.
That's a
Mark,
great
you've been
message.
amazing.
Yeah. Bringing hope, inspiration, a lot of great stuff for sports, personal, mental fitness, physical fitness, and just a great time. So, Mark, I can't thank you enough for being here today, man. This was a really great time.
Lee, JB, thank you guys for
Mark,
for what you're doing. For one, I'm one voice, and there's a lot of great voices out there, and having you two share those voices, and it becomes a snowball effect. Keeps getting bigger and bigger, and people that stigma gets. It's not so bad anymore to face these things, because they see others that, wow, he's going through it. Well, she's going through it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm struggling too. I want to open up, and
that's how it changes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how we make the change. That's our purpose, and you're a big part of that on this episode and moving forward. So, Mark, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Yep.
That's going to do it for this episode of Win Championship Trades for Life, which is powered by Pivotal Moments. Again, you can learn more about our organization, Pivotal Moments, and our channel Grit at pivotalmomentsmedia.com. There's a lot of inspirational, entertaining, and educational content there. So for Mark Rypien and JB Spizo, I'm Lee Elias. Thanks so much for joining us, and make sure to keep an eye out for more episodes of Win, wherever podcasts can be heard. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening to this edition of Win Championship Trades for Life. If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button or that like button wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, pivotalmomentsmedia.com. And remember, Win is part of Grit, a Pivotal Moments Media channel, which is working to break the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Again, visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. Keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next episode.